Exclamation everybody, and welcome back to Cube Ramblings. For me, it is a Saturday night, July the 18th, 2015. Had to look over real quick to see what it was. I hope everybody has been having a great and awesome and terrific week and a terrific summer for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, and hopefully a terrific winter for those in the Southern. Lots of stuff going on. I have a few topics to talk about that are a little bit larger than most, I guess. I don't know. maybe I'm putting too much stock in some of these things, but I have a few topics here. Doing some changes on the channel, which I will probably talk more about in a channel update, which I have to record some footage for sooner rather than later, because I'd like to make I'm starting to make some changes now as it stands, and I'd like to make some changes as it goes forward for, streaming and whatnot. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm not gonna go, like I said, into too much detail, because I'm gonna go into way too much detail in my normal monthly updates that I do. But I want to kick off the thoughts today with YouTube gaming, and I know that I've talked a little bit about this before, but I didn't have a whole lot of information about what was going to happen. But recently this week, a reviewer from Eurogamer, and I'll link you to an article on it, posted a video of looking at the preview of YouTube gaming, going on YouTube gaming site and just kind of clicking around, seeing what it looks like, seeing what's going on there. I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because it was actually pretty interesting. This is going to be the Cube Ramblings of go watch this video, because I got a couple things on here that I think you guys will want to watch, because they're pretty neat. But this is one of them. And I think it only takes like 13 minutes or so to watch this one. It's not too bad. But basically it looks like, it's a nice little slick interface that they've got going. It still follows pretty much the YouTube interface, but it's a little bit flashier than you might expect out of YouTube. And it's putting a heavy emphasis on the live streaming stuff. But it's also putting live streams for the games right next to, pre-recorded footage, and you can basically see them both side by side, pretty much from what it looked like. Of course, it's still early, so we don't know what exactly that's going to shape out to be once there's people actually doing a lot of the live streaming and stuff on YouTube. But for now, it looks like a very clean interface. It's based around your favorites, and it's based around your games that you like. So you can favorite a game, and you'll see all the videos for that particular game there. You can favorite a particular stream, and you'll see more like that. It tailors itself using all the normal Google algorithms that are going on in the background there of all the things that you do. And I welcome anything that allows us to see things by game, because the nice thing about it is there's sort of like a sidebar that they show off that says, here are, the most popular games, which won't probably change that often. Because obviously Minecraft is still top on that list. But then there's like a trending games thing, which is like, oh, okay, here's some games that are suddenly getting a lot of videos and views and whatnot. And those are showing up there. Like, I think they had, he looked at it was like Arkham Knight or something like that. And that's really exciting for someone like me who's looking at things as early as I look at them, because that sort of gives a little bit of a boost if I happen to look at a game right on its launch, say, or right before its launch, and then suddenly the game takes off. Well, now, hopefully, based on the age of the video, hopefully my video would be on there somewhere. And it's a neat little thing. It does have sort of a problem, which is you can only access it through gaming.youtube.com once that becomes available. right? It's not, it's a completely separate UI from your normal YouTube UI stuff. And I assume they're probably going to have a separate app altogether from the normal YouTube app that they have. So it's, from that perspective, it does mean it, if you want to just watch games, you'll be set. But if you want to watch other things on YouTube besides games, then you're going to find yourself either switching back and forth between the two or just sticking with what you already know and what already works for you. So it's kind of a weird, there's like a weird split, horizon there as far as how things are supposed to look and feel. But there were some interesting things pointed out in it. For one, like I said, there's a heavy emphasis on the live streaming stuff. For two, there's a concept of favoriting, like I said there, which you can favorite channels, which is apparently different than actually subscribing to channels, which has me intrigued. And it has me intrigued because when I'm thinking about, there was a rumor going around that YouTube was going to try to overhaul its subscription model and actually make paid for subscriptions. And everybody was kind of freaking out, like, well, what does that mean? How's that work? What's that going to do? How's this? What's the revenue sharing and all that stuff on that? And when I was thinking about it in my head, I'm like, I suspect that they're going to roll that out in some kind of fashion. Like, they're not going to roll it out to everybody. Probably they're probably going to pick a segment and then expand from there once they've ironed out all the kinks. And when I look at what they're doing with the YouTube gaming thing, based on the video that I watched, because I don't have access to it, I don't have access to that site or anything like that. When I look at what's based on the video there, what was said during that video, I'm like, this is probably their anchor point. This is going to be the thing that this is probably what they're going to use to expand their concept of having paid for subscriptions. Because if they're looking at Twitch, right? Twitch is the granddaddy of them now, right? Twitch owns pretty much the streaming stuff. Hitbox has a little island of its own, and I'm sure there's other sites out there that I don't even know the names of that might have little pieces of islands as well. But Twitch right now is the 1,000-pound elephant, right? And if you're going to compete with them, you gotta provide something that's on par with, and then some, with what Twitch does. And when I look at the YouTube has rolled out a new beta for their live streaming platform, which I just used on Friday, which is slightly different from what they did before. Actually, significantly different in an important way, but it's got a different UI and it's got different concepts behind it. Before this, when I was doing live streaming, I was using and I still will use it from time to time. I was using Restream.io to stream both to YouTube and Twitch and Hitbox at the same time, and then just everybody can just choose what they want at that point, or whatever works better for them that doesn't lag out, whatever stream works. And the advantage to doing that was that YouTube, prior to that, in order to do a live stream, you have to set up an event. It has to be a timed event. Like, you have to say, oh, I'm going to be here for so many hours, and it's going to be, it's going to start at 7 p.m. and it's going to, you had to work that out ahead of time and then set it up and then be there for it to start it. And it was the most ass backwards way of doing things if you really want to do live streaming, right? It's like, most people, live streams are not scheduled things. It's just like, I just want to sit here and just do it, right? Especially with gaming and whatnot. So what they've done is, so I was using Restream.io, which actually used the YouTube API and then set up all the event for me and set it up like immediately and was able to do an immediate mode on it and all that stuff. So I didn't have to do any of that stuff. So that was kind of cool. But now they've actually got in the video creator area, they've got the another tab that just says live streams. They've got the events underneath of it. You can still do events, timed events, But then they've got just Stream Now. And the Stream Now interface looks pretty much like Twitch, only using the YouTube skin and YouTube concepts about the category headers and all that stuff. So in there, it's like, here's your stream, what it looks like. Here's your chat, and then you can set up all the different things like what game are you streaming and so on and so forth. The nice thing, as far as I can tell, I haven't tried it yet because the one I tried it on was Guild of Dungeoneering, which you'll see a video up on the channel for that. That was in the drop-down list, but it looks to me like you could type anything you want in the drop-down list and it won't reject it. At least that's what I'm hoping for, because that's the thing that drives me nuts about Twitch and about Hitbox, is that I play games that aren't in their database. I mean, it's just, I'm playing indie games that are in early alpha usually. They're not in any database yet, and it unnerves me to no end that I have to either not put a game in there at all, or if there is a game in there, I can't clear it out, so it looks like I'm streaming Just Cause 2 when in fact I'm streaming something completely different. And so I'm hoping that YouTube just does it the right way and says, like, look, you can just put anything you want in here or nothing, and just we'll have the database there as a enhancement, so that if we do happen to find a match in our database, you'll at least be able to spell it correctly. But otherwise, you should be able to just save it in there and not have any problems. And I hope that that's the model that they're going for. It looks like it, at least from what I could see, that might be the case, but not sure yet. But that's one of my bugbears about the other sites. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't take that. I can't take that input. It's like, but this is the actual game name. I can't help that you don't have the game in your database. And that affects you where you show up on the live stream, on the homepage and stuff, right? Because people are going to look for a game, and they're not going to see you, even though you're playing that game, because you didn't put it in the thing there, because they don't have it in their database yet. So it's things like that, discoverability and stuff, used to drive me a little bit nuts. Plus the thing that really drives me nuts about Twitch is that unless you're a partner, your stream is never going to be the streams lag. Like, I've got all the settings correct, and it says my stream settings are excellent when I'm streaming and all that stuff. I followed all their patterns and all that stuff, but it will lag out, and it will, even when I'm watching it, it'll lag out, and I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all, because it's not lagging out for me. I got a good internet. So there's things about Twitch that I don't really like so much. And I've been streaming on Twitch for a while now. Once a week for, I don't know how many months it's been, but it's I don't think it's even been a year yet. It's probably been a few months. But I don't have really a following over there, which is fine. I'm okay with that. But it's also it's just been nagging me. Like, there's certain nagging things about it that I just don't really like the way they do things. I mean, especially now that they're owned by Amazon, they have the entire power of Amazon AWS at their beck and whim and beck and call, and they should be, you look at Hitbox, you look at YouTube streaming, they got like 1080p, 60 frames per second, and all this stuff, and Twitch is like, well, if you're a partner, we'll give you like some of that. But if you're just a typical schlub that just does this for fun, then you can just go screw off. And that's what bugs me the most, is like, they've got all that power behind them now. Like, they're owned by Amazon, for crying out loud. They've got every major cloud-based app pretty much runs on Amazon AWS. Even if it runs on Heroku just sits on top of Amazon AWS. So it's like, they've got computing power to spare. So it should not be the way it is right now. And I'm hoping, if nothing else, with YouTube coming into the foray, Twitch will be forced to actually respond and do some good things. But I'm I'm really excited by what I see as far as YouTube gaming is concerned. Now, getting back to what I was talking about though, with the favorites versus subscribing, it sounds like you're going to be, when you're on the YouTube gaming stuff, you're going to be doing lots of favoriting, but not necessarily subscribing to channels. And I suspect that's because I suspect that there's two things going on. One, I suspect that they wanted to do a new site because they wanted a new UI. Plus, they wanted to introduce this new concept, which is the number two thing, which is, I think that, with all the rumors about them, making changes to their subscription model where you can actually pay for subscriptions and not get any ads and all that stuff, I suspect they're probably going to roll that out on YouTube gaming first, because people who are used to Twitch are already used to the concept of, hey, I have a subscription, I get a little bit of something, like you get emoticons or whatever, and I support the streamer. And I suspect that because that pattern's already established, YouTube's gone, well, we want to make this big, reaching change, but we don't want to throw it out there and just screw everybody over. So instead, we're going to target just this segment that already is kind of used to that idea, and then see if it's successful, and if it is, then we'll start to roll it out to everything else. So I suspect that that's what's going to happen, although there hasn't been any talk of what's actually they're going to do with subscriptions and stuff. But the fact that you're only favoriting stuff on that site and not actually subscribing to them leads me to believe that subscription is going to be an actual concept, and it's going to be different than the subscription concept on YouTube proper. Although I don't know how they're going to rectify that if you're on YouTube proper. Is that going to be a different subscribe button? Are you technically not subscribed to it? I don't know how exactly that's going to work. I assume the favorite stuff is going to be another category of stuff in your YouTube admin, creator console or whatever it's called. Probably that's like, here's how many people have favorited you on here, as opposed to here's how many subscribers you have. But that's sort of the gears in my head sort of turning, like, hey, I think I can see what they're doing here, based on my own experience with working on the back plumbing of websites and how requirements come to pass, and how you have to sort of reverse engineer requirements to figure out what you're actually trying to do as far as the company is concerned. So you can do the better job. You can do a better job at it. So that's my suspicion, my substantiated suspicions as to what they're doing there, and it looks really interesting. And I am sort of, since I've never really been too much of a fan of Twitch, and I don't have that many followers over there, I figured I could easily go and try out the YouTube gaming thing as my primary live streaming, YouTube as my primary live streaming platform, and just sort of double down on that and see what pops out of it. I mean, already I've had more interactions on YouTube than I've had in streaming, on Twitch for many months. More interactions in chat and all that stuff. So I am very interested, and I'm sort of doubling down on it. I'm still going to, probably stream to Twitch. I might use Restream to restream some stuff to Twitch and Hitbox. But I think primarily it's going to be more of a YouTube as my primary thing, and then Hitbox as a secondary, and then maybe Twitch if I feel like I'm streaming something that doesn't need a high quality stream for people to view. So that's my initial plan. But again, I'll talk about what the actual implementations of that are going to be as far as channels go in my channel update. Once I record some gameplay footage to put on it. So that's, again, I'll leave you a link to the Eurogamer article that's really just shows you the video that of them looking through YouTube gaming. It's a pretty slick site. It looks like I think anything that organizes it by games is a good thing, because a lot of people, they just want, from what I'm seeing, right? A lot of people, they just want Minecraft, or they just want they want more information on a particular game that they just saw on Steam. And this is kind of the interesting little side thing about it. I've been uploading my videos to Steam as well for like the side quest videos, and usually just one. And if I'm doing a live a let's play on a game and it's a game that's on Steam, I just put like the first episode up, because I don't want to spam it. So I just put like the first episode up, or if it's a side quest video, I put the side quest video up. And I do that. Number one, it does seem to get a lot of click-throughs and everything else. But number two, it's when you go onto Steam, and this is the big problem that I've always had with Steam. All the videos that show up on the Steam store page are ones that are by the, excuse me, having all kinds of problems here. Are ones that are uploaded, all the pictures, all the screenshots, all the videos are ones that are uploaded by the creator of the game, or whoever's maintaining the store page, which is usually the creator of the game, or the developer, or the publisher, whatever it is. And there's sort of a problem with that. And the big problem I have with that is that 9 times out of 10, most of those videos are not gameplay videos. They are, trailers of some sort. So it's like, here's all the main points of our game, and we're not going to really show you any actual gameplay. We're just going to jump around a bunch, and we're going to put some music to it, and we're going to just give you some bullet points, and then that's it. Which is good if you're doing an elevator pitch, which, the store pages are pretty much an elevator pitch. The problem I have is that more often than not, you look at some of those renders and all that stuff, you don't have any idea what the game actually is, right? So in order to know what the game actually is, you have to either download a demo. If you're lucky, they've put a demo up, which still, I wish more people would put demos up. Or you have to buy it. Which makes sense from a business perspective, but really sucks from a person who's like, I don't know what the hell this thing is, right? So I think that's where people start to drive away from Steam for a minute, and they're like, okay, I'm not going to put $20 down on this thing until I know what the hell I'm getting. And so you end up dropping over to YouTube, and you're like, okay, let me go search for this thing. And you got to go through the normal search channels, and you may or may not get the results that you want. I think that's where YouTube gaming is going to shine the most, because you go on to, gaming.youtube.com, you search for that game, right? Or maybe you don't even have to. Maybe it's a trending game. Maybe it's maybe they'll have a new releases thing there. That would be kind of nice. They didn't have one in what I saw in the video, but it would be kind of nice if they had like new releases. Here's new things out here. But I guess trending games would cover most of the new releases probably. But you would type it in there, and then not only would you see, maybe let's play videos of it, reviews of it. They have like a whole tab for reviews. They have a whole tab for let's plays, but you'll also see if somebody's playing it live, right? And if somebody happens to be playing it live, and you might watch their live stream for a little bit just to get an idea of what's going on, and maybe you can even, you'll be able to interact with them and say, hey, what's this game like? Like, what's going on here? And like, what do you think of it so far? And all this stuff, and get that immediate feedback. I mean, that to me is just fantastic. It's something that Twitch could have been if Twitch could figure out how to do UI. Twitch has never quite figured out how to do UI. What Twitch, and not only that, but also Twitch tends to focus around, instead of focusing around games, or particular games, it tends to focus around esports, which is fine. A lot of people, a good significant portion of people on Twitch are there for esports stuff anyway, right? So you got your League of Legends and your Hearthstone and all those, competitive multiplayer games. And now it's Rocket League or whatever that is, which I had never even heard of until this week. So it's, but apparently it's been around for a while. And you got all that stuff going on. And occasionally you'll get some spotlights around a new release, like a big AAA title, but not for like the little indies and stuff that you really need it for, right? I mean, a big AAA title usually has had a bunch of reviews going out, or a bunch of previews, and you kind of have an idea of what the game's all about. Whereas some random indie game, you maybe did or maybe didn't. It's kind of hard to judge that. And I think if YouTube gaming is able to capture that, because people are already used to going to YouTube, or at least to Google anyway, which ends up taking them to YouTube, to do that research. So if Google is smart and they tweak, their search algorithm to say, here's gameplay footage of this, and we're going to take you to YouTube gaming instead of, to YouTube proper, and sort of drive the traffic there, that could open up a whole possibility of, hey, you might have people dropping into your stream like, hey, like asking you questions like, well, what's this game like? And I'm thinking of purchasing it, and I was just looking at it on Steam, and what's this and how's that? And to a certain extent, Steam was kind of trying to do that with the whole Steam broadcasting thing, except I don't think they realized what they actually wanted out of it. I think somebody just said, here's a bunch of requirements, and I have no idea why management brought these requirements down, but here you go. And they're like, well, okay, I'm not going to question it. Here, I'll just write that the way you said it. Instead of asking like, hey, what's our actual end goal here? What are we actually trying to accomplish? Because if someone had sat there and said, we're actually trying to accomplish giving people the ability to talk to a live streamer while they're sitting on the store page, to ask them like, hey, what's this game like? I'd like to know your perspective on it since you've been playing it right now, and what do you think? Is it something I should buy? If they could integrate that, I think that would be that would probably finally possibly make the whole Let's Play thing, quote unquote, actually make sense to the majority of people that it doesn't make sense to. Right? I mean, let's be honest, for most people, the Let's Play thing makes no sense. Like, why would you watch somebody playing a game when you can play it yourself? Right? For most people, it's like they're scratching their head like, I don't know what this whole thing's about. But if you were to integrate those two things together, like, oh, this is going to help me make a purchasing decision, and oh, by the way, this guy is actually fairly entertaining, and so there's a little bit of an entertainment value there, then you're starting to get like gateway druggish, right? And you're starting to bring people in who wouldn't have been amenable to it in the first place, probably. So if somebody can connect those two dots, somebody who's a lot smarter than me and has a lot more time than me could connect those two dots together, we might see a surge in the acceptance, I guess, of Let's Play and the popularity of Let's Play. I mean, granted, I'm talking about a genre that, clearly has 38 million people watching it, because that is, I think, the latest numbers from PewDiePie. But it's still, if I were to extrapolate without any knowledge, if I were to pull something out of my ass, I would say that probably the majority of those 38 million people are the younger categories of generations, like, 8 to what is the young category is like 8 to 12 or 6 to 12 or something like that. That's probably the majority of his audience, I would say. Not knowing, again, just pulling numbers out of my ass here, pulling a supplication or whatever you want to call it, making up stuff off the top of my head, I would say that's probably the case. So that will help with the generation that's growing up. That doesn't necessarily help with the acceptance of the generation that I'm in, which is the old fart generation, the old battle axe generation. Doesn't necessarily help it with them, which is actually the generation I'm trying to attract to my channel. The more adult viewers. Not that there's anything wrong with kids. It's just I'm not good with kids. I'm more of an adult kind of person, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure what you would be if you're not good with kids. I don't know what the word would be. But I don't have that sort of appeal necessarily, because I'm rather monotone and boring. But monotone and boring is exactly what the adults like. Have I insulted you yet? No. I mean no disrespect to anyone in my assessment there. The English language is failing me at the moment. So I think, yeah, if somebody could connect those dots, I think we would be there would be some really awesome future stuff going on, I guess. I think that's the missing link that we don't quite have yet. It's there, but you have to fight for it, I guess, or you have to. It takes a leap of logic, I guess, to get to that point before you actually do it. Whereas we could be handing it to people like, hey, here's somebody who's already playing this game. Why don't you ask them what the game's like? You know. So that's my thoughts on that. That's why it's also why I'm sort of particularly excited about YouTube gaming, is that it feels like that is where we want to be, I guess. And having everything having a one-stop shop is a lot easier than, jumping back and forth, obviously. But as always, for everything that YouTube tends to do, they tend to really screw up. Google in particular, everything Google does, they tend to, in regards to YouTube anyway, they tend to screw up. Like the whole Google Plus integration. I mean, this could end up just going the way of Google Plus, right? Which is like, for 1 week, everybody will be really excited about it, and then it'll completely die out. Who the hell knows? But I figure I'm in a position where I can take a gamble, since there is not very much to lose in the process. So, anywho, that is my thoughts on the YouTube gaming thing. Again, links in the description. So I have more stuff on here besides that. I played a little demo of a game called Slipstream. It's a free demo. I'll link you to a Rock Paper Shotgun article that was on the demo. And it's a little racing game. It's very similar to the other racing games I've done on the channel, the little indie racing games I've done on the channel. But you can see it's very heavily inspired by Outrun, which is pretty cool from a perspective of, hey, we're actually going to take some of the concepts of Outrun and just run with them. So you're running down a course. It's it branches off one way or the other, and then that takes you to another spot, and it's a time trial. It's a time trial mode. So you got 70 seconds to get to the next checkpoint, to get a renew on that time, and so on and so forth. So it is pretty much a PC version of Outrun that I don't think has ever existed, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, there was a version of Outrun on the Xbox 360, which I actually have on my 360, just collecting dust somewhere. And that was kind of fun, but I don't think that ever saw a PC release. I think that was just Xbox Live Indie Games, and that was it. So having something akin to Outrun on the PC is actually pretty cool. I just hope that they take it one step further than the normal just gameplay that they have in there right now. Because right now it's pretty much a a clone of Outrun in pretty much every respect, except for the visuals per se. Although the visuals are very reminiscent of it. It's just if you never played Outrun, you wouldn't know. But if you had played Outrun, you can see the similarity right away. My hope is that they'll do something with that. Like go one step further or two steps further, and see if you can make it add some additional gameplay mechanics to it. Because Outrun was a very, very simple game, and it was simple because it was an arcade game, and it was a punishing arcade game because the time trial mode was pretty punishing. It took quite a bit of effort to get through it because, well, it was an arcade game and they wanted you to pump quarters into it. And let me tell you, that thing loved quarters, man. That was I think that was one of the 50 centers in the arcades back in the day, because it usually came as a sit-down cabinet. So you'd actually have like a cut out of a car, and you'd sit down in it, and you'd have your gas pedals and all that stuff. So it was, the one I used to play on didn't have. I don't think it moved at all. I think it was just a static one. But I believe they did have ones that sort of moved as you turned the wheel. It would sort of lurch to one side or the other to kind of give you a little extra boost, extra reality, if you will. I think the one I was on was stable. It is a thing. You want to take a look at it. The free demo is out there. You can go, download it, try it for yourself. I think you only do three stages in it right now in the demo. So it's only about, I would say, 5-minute demo or so. And then you're pretty much done it. And then you can start over from the beginning and just do it again. But that's the reason why I haven't done a video on it yet, is because it's only like 5 minutes of the demo. So I've been trying to gather up videos of, small videos for another Side Quest +1 episode. And that's on there on the list. And then I have a few others that I'm looking at that I think are also pretty short that I could put in there with it. So that's why you haven't seen a video of that yet. Plus, the 2 videos a week of side quests, I keep in my head, I'm like, I really should do a third video. I really should do a third one, because there's a lot. But I'm afraid if I go to a third video a week, if I go like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday on it, that I'm going to run out of things. Because even though I do have a nice back catalog right now, in a couple weeks I'll probably have it exhausted. It's just so happens that so many of the Kickstarter things that I've backed and other things are starting to get to a point where they're you can see some gameplay footage and you can actually play them and do some things. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll do it as a temporary thing. Maybe I'll say like, oh, I'll just for a couple Mondays do this, and then maybe not. I don't know. It's also hard to do more than 2 a week because the time it requires to like learn enough about the game to do something with it. I have to do some research on it, have to figure out what the developer is, and then hopefully actually say the developer's name correctly in the videos, which is a lot harder than you might imagine, to keep straight, because you're trying to talk about the game, and at the same time you're trying to keep all the stuff about the game together, and and I didn't bother to write down the other stuff that I needed, like the developer's name and all that stuff. So doing that, and also, I was thinking of doing research streams where I sit down for the first time of the game and actually do the research there on stream, because I might as well. Normally I'm doing it off camera and just kind of looking around like, what does this do? What does that do? I might as well just, do that on stream and just like, okay, well, let's see what this looks like. Let me learn what this looks like. Which I kind of did with, I actually did with the Interstellar Rift, which is why there's 2 Interstellar Rift videos on there. The live stream was the research stream, and then the actual proper side quest video on it. Which, by the way, thank you to everyone who was very generous in actually watching both of those videos. It's the main reason why I'm thinking of making changes around how I do live streaming, because I didn't like the fact that I had 2 videos of the same game within a few days of one another on the channel, because I felt like that was the epitome of spam, right? It's like, I've already watched you play most of this, even though the side quest video goes into more detail about the editor, which I was trying to figure out on the live stream. It still did cover a lot of the bases I had already covered. So yeah, I'm trying not to do that anymore. I'm trying not to have like, here's a live stream about it, and then here's the research stream, and then, oh, here's the video on it. Like I'm trying to have some sort of separation there so that it's not so bad. But thank you to those who did watch both of them. I was very satisfied with the number of views I got on both of those videos, because I suspected that I was going to put the side quest video up of it, and no one was going to watch it because it was, or very few would watch it because they already saw the live stream, because the live stream actually got quite a few views. But thankfully I was mistaken, and I'm very happy to have been mistaken. So thank you to everyone watching this for that. So yeah, that was Slipstream. Again, I'll leave you a link to Rock Paper Shotgun, who talks about it a little bit more. You can see some videos of it probably around, I'm sure. So another video that I'm going to say that you guys probably want to go watch, because it's not a very long one. It's like, I think it was 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe. But the creators of Deus Ex, so Warren Spector, and let me make sure I get all the names correct here. What was it? It was, oh, that is the wrong one. Here we go. Warren Spector, who was the director of Deus Ex, the father of it, if you will. The writer for Deus Ex, this is the original Deus Ex, by the way, the Deus Ex 1. The writer, Sheldon Picotti, and the lead programmer and assistant director, Chris Norden, they sit down, and how long is the video? Oh, it doesn't tell me because it's just the thumbnail. They sit down and play for about 15-20 minutes the original Deus Ex, and actually there's some cuts in there, so they actually play through the entire game, or at least they load up parts of the game. They don't sit there and go through the entire game, but they do load up save games along the way, and they actually play the final ending, and they play I think Hong Kong in the middle, and then they play the Statue of Liberty, the very first level. And during it, they're reminiscing about the development of it and the writing of it, and they're reminiscing on you know, what they were trying to accomplish with Deus Ex and what the design goals were, because it's like Deus Ex is going to be celebrating their 15 years pretty soon, because I think it's been 14 years so far, and I think their 15 years of it's going to be later this year, I think, of Deus Ex, since Deus Ex 1 came out. So those guys were like, they hadn't played it in like 14 years, and you know, they're sitting there like, oh, does anybody remember what the code is for the ATM machine in the Statue of Liberty? I'm like, no, I don't remember. It's been 14 years. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun listening to them play it and talk about it. So I would recommend, if you're fans of Deus Ex, even if you're not fans of Deus Ex, even if you want to just like, if you're just a fan of games, I would recommend listening at least to one of these videos. Maybe not the Deus Ex one. There's also one, I think, where John Romero plays Doom for the first time in many years. Like, I would strongly recommend, if you love games, like, listen to one of those, at least one of those videos. And just pick one that you think that you like a lot, because they're very fascinating. I know it's like listening to it pretty much is listening to the director's commentary, if you will, of a movie, which can be hit or miss, but for the most part, these devs and writers and producers and everything else are actually, you know, pretty insightful about, just giving you more information about what's going on in the process. I mean, when you listen to a director's commentary, sometimes, like for a movie, like sometimes they'll get into the cinematography, like, oh yeah, we were trying to light this and trying to light that, which is fascinating to listen to. But a lot of times it's just random tidbits that you don't really care so much about. Like, oh yeah, we used to hang out in the trailer in between this take. We did 20 takes of this, and we kept going back and forth to the trailer because it was so hot out, and we needed the air conditioning. I'm like, well, who cares? Who cares, right? We care more about the composition of the writing and the composition of the scene and what we were trying to get at and all that stuff. And a lot of these, as far as gaming goes, a lot of these guys are more on point about that. Like, hey, here's what I was trying to think of. Here's what I was doing with this game, and here's what I was trying to go for. And here's some things that we cut out of the game. Like, I think in Hong Kong level, they were talking about how there was a whole section that they just cut out because they couldn't get it to work. It was something about the docks, I think. You could go down to the docks or something. I don't remember exactly what they said, but I remember them saying that there was this whole section that they cut out, and you just like, oh, whatever. And they just couldn't because they didn't have the budget for it. So it's just stuff like that that's really fantastic to listen to, and I would highly recommend that you go do that, at least for some video, for some game. It doesn't have to be the Deus Ex one. It could be anyone out there. But it was really cool. It was really cool listening to that. I wasn't sure at first. When I clicked on, I was like, oh, I wonder what this is going to be like. And then as I listened to it, I was like, you know what? This is actually pretty fantastic. I mean, literally, the devs were doing a let's play of the game that they devved, and they did a pretty good job of it. They were interesting to listen to. So that's my take on that. I will leave you a link to who has it here. I think Rock Paper Shotgun had the video embedded. A couple sites actually had the video embedded, but Rock Paper Shotgun is at least one that won't destroy your browser while trying to watch it anyway, because they actually linked, I think, the YouTube video instead of having all those other custom freaking video players that make your browser cry. So that, yeah, I would highly recommend go watching that, or at least listening to it in the background while you do something else. Something else interesting that has come out. I'm going to link you to xbox.com, news.xbox.com. This is straight from the horse's mouth. Windows 10. Microsoft is pulling out all the stops with Windows 10. They're really, really trying to get the gamers to adopt it. Because I think we're usually the slowest adopters of new Windows operating systems, because is DirectX going to work? Is this going to work? Are my games going to work? Is this, what is this going to be a crap? All that stuff. Especially with Windows 8. Windows 8 was just terrible for games when it first came out, and then they had to go and patch a whole kinds of things. And they're really doubling down on it because they're hurting. They're hurting as far as the operating system development goes. The more I hear about it, the more I'm like, maybe I'll adopt Windows 10 earlier than I anticipated. Like, I was thinking I was going to stay on Windows 7 for quite some time, because even though, technically speaking, Microsoft being Microsoft, Windows 10 should be a hell of a lot better operating system, because every other operating system they do is better is better than the one in the middle. Like, Windows 8 was just crap. I couldn't stand it. I didn't want it. I never used it. I was like, screw this thing. I'm staying with Windows 7. And most people did the same thing, especially in the gaming realm. And I think Microsoft knows that now. I think they finally figured that out. That's how people operate. That's how they roll. And so they've been just blitzing the Windows 10 stuff. They're like, oh, we're going to have DirectX 12, and it's going to be exclusive. And just like DirectX 11, I think, was exclusive for Windows 7 and all that stuff. And what they're doing now, though, is kind of interesting. This is going to sort of next level stuff here, I'd say. But Windows 10 is going to give you the ability to stream your games directly from your Xbox One. Assuming, of course, you plug in to an Ethernet cable and not through Wi-Fi. If you're doing Wi-Fi, from what I understand, you're probably going to have some performance issues, some lag. But if you're all jacked in, Windows 10 will have an app that you can download from Microsoft that will connect to your Xbox One system and allow you to actually play your games on Windows 10 that are actually playing on the Xbox. So it'll turn your Xbox on and all that stuff. And it'll actually play the game on the Xbox, but it'll stream the video over to your Windows box, and then you can connect your Xbox One controller to your Windows machine, and you'll be playing. All your inputs will be going through your Windows machine, and all the outputs will be going to a Windows machine, but it'll be playing on the hardware, on the Xbox One hardware. That actually sounds interesting to me as a streamer and a YouTuber. That sounds pretty interesting because right away I'm thinking to myself, if that's a thing, then it would be a lot easier for me to stream games from the Xbox, even though I could, use the Twitch app and all that stuff. I really don't like to use that. I'd rather use OBS because I can put my own, pop-ups over it and all that stuff, all the, if I'm playing music or something like that. But it's, right now as it stands, in order to do that, I have to load up my video capture hardware that I have, and then it allows me to, it has a big window, and I can make the window full screen, and then without recording, I'll just make the window full screen and then have OBS capture the screen. Well, if Microsoft is going to give you a native one, then I can do something similar. Instead of having to load up my streaming hardware that I have here, the Hauppauge that I use, instead of having that in line and all that stuff and getting all that turned on and everything, I could just have it go right to the Windows machine and then do the same thing with either the game capture or the full screen capture of that, and be able to stream then that way, which would be a lot nicer because then I can stream it wherever I want. I'm not just limited to just streaming it to Twitch or whatever you have on there. So, which, by the way, brings me back to the YouTube gaming thing where I'm like, YouTube gaming probably is going to need some sort of app for Xbox One and all that stuff like Twitch does if they really want to be serious about it. But anyway, back on track here. So that's really the only thing that I could see being a good way to do it. I guess also, if I think more practically, it would be nice to be able to do that when someone else is using the TV, I suppose. Like, you have your Xbox connected to the TV and someone's watching the TV and they don't want to give it up in your family, and you're like, well, I want to play games, and so you just end up streaming the Xbox directly to your PC, and then that way the TV is freed up for them to watch whatever they want. So I guess from that perspective it makes some sense too. But again, you're probably going to want to be hardwired for all that stuff because you're running on the local network and various other things. Not do Wi-Fi because I doubt that's going to work too well. So, yeah, that sounds like a cool thing. I mean, that's kind of cool. I'm hearing about Windows 10, the more I'm like, maybe they'll get this one right. They should. I mean, that's their normal pattern. So maybe I'll bump up, when I was going to actually adopt Windows 10, because at some point I was going to have to, make the upgrade to Windows 10 because of DirectX 12 and all that stuff. But I was going to wait as long as I could. There's a year, I think, for Windows 7 and Windows 8.1 users to upgrade for free to Windows 10. And so I was going to just wait as long as I could until that year was almost up, and let other people figure out all the bugs in Windows 10 first, and let them suffer through it and get all the patches out, and then worry about it. But with all this stuff coming down, maybe I'll do the upgrade a little bit earlier than that. We'll see. I mean, Windows 10 I think it's coming out, the preview build. Not the preview build, but the final build for Insiders, Microsoft Insiders, is, I think, the 29th, and then I think it becomes generally available sometime after that. I don't know when, but I think it's shortly after that. So yeah, we'll see. Just another thing for Windows 10 and gaming right now. Obviously, we already know about the DirectX 12. We know that there's some games that are going to be Windows 10 exclusive, which I assume means they're going to be DirectX 12 exclusive, which is rough, but it's, you know, that's it. Microsoft is paying for that, I think, for that exclusivity. So I guess those devs are like, you know what, we'll just be exclusive for as long as it makes monetary sense, and then we'll unexclusify ourselves when it doesn't. That's all I got on that. I'll leave you a link to news.xbox.com so you can take a look at it from the horse's mouth directly. It gives you information on how to actually do it from Windows 10 and all that stuff. I talked about a while ago, very, very while ago, a game called Evoland. Evoland 2, I talked about it because Evoland 2 was a thing that was announced a while ago, but I don't think we had a release date on it. We now do have one, but Evoland is, it's a game that I played. I didn't actually record any of it. I played it before I had a YouTube channel. But I played that game all the way through. It was a lot of fun. It's an RPG. It took liberties. It was a CRPG, but it took, you know, it took like a lighthearted approach to things. It was like, hey, let's show you how gaming evolved, or how RPGs evolved. And it said, you know, it was you start out in like 8-bit land, and you had only a few colors, and then as you would open chests, they would unlock additional features, and you get more music, and you'd get then you go into 16-bit era, and all along the way you're fighting monsters and you're leveling up, and then you fought the final boss. It was it even, you know, made fun of the insert disk 2 thing, or loading from disk thing that you had to do towards the end of the game, and it was nice tongue-in-cheek. It was a lot of fun to play. And Evoland 2 looks like it's going to be similar as far as fun to play. It's going to have the same kind of concept, but it's going to do entirely different genres of games and sort of blend them together rather than sticking closely to RPGs. So that sounds like a whole lot of fun. I can't wait for it. It now has a release date of, it's Evoland 2, the full wording of it. Evoland 2, A Slight Case of Space-Time Continuum Disorder. Should be coming out August the 25th. I don't know what platforms it's going to be on, but I think they have the platforms listed. Obviously, PC is going to be one of them because the first one was on PC. But they'll have the platforms listed and everything else in the link down below in the description. I'll link to Hardcore Gamer. They talk about it, and you should be able to find it out from there, all the places it will be. I think it will be coming to some consoles, but I'm not entirely sure, so don't quote me on that. Let's see, what else? Oh, The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 patch. A new patch has come down, the big patch, the one that we've been waiting for. Version 1.07 has arrived. I have looked at it. I loaded up The Witcher just briefly to take a look at it. It messed with some of my settings, which is awesome from a YouTuber perspective. Damn you, CD Projekt Red. Why can't you save my settings? But it saved some of them, but it did change a bunch, like resolution. So I had to re-resolution it down to 720p and windowed mode and all that stuff. And I think it messed with the audio volume settings too, because they didn't look quite right. Everything was set to 100%, which I don't think is what I had. So if the next couple of recordings end up being too loud or too soft, my apologies. My mea culpa is to you right now. But it is a long-awaited patch because it has a lot of bug fixes and it has some new features. One of the nice, really new features is it has a stash system now. I loaded up the game to look around to see where the stashes are, because I'm in Evoland right now, which is just the second area of the game. And already I could see the stashes appear regardless of how much of the map you've explored. So right away, there's I think 2 stashes on that map in various places they're in. They were both in places that I hadn't actually explored yet, but they were there. So that's cool. I like that there's a stash system now. Also, the thing that I forgot to mention last week when I was talking about some of the patch notes in there, all of your books and notes and all that stuff have their own category now, which is awesome, because it was getting kind of weird trying to figure out where everything was at. In addition to that, your alchemy recipes no longer take up any weight in your pack, so you don't have to, you won't get encumbered picking up a flower anymore. They all weigh 0 now. And something else I didn't know about, but I saw a video on it. I was like, oh wait, let me go drop in here and see what this is like. Geralt has a new movement ability now, upgraded movement, where in the game proper as it was, Geralt was very slow when he would turn. The momentum wouldn't fully shift over. Like in most games, when you turn, you can sort of turn on a dime, right? Because all your momentum suddenly shifts, and you're like, all right, I'm spinning on the ball of my foot and going off in this other direction really immediately and quickly. And what CD Projekt did was to make it a little bit more realistic, like a real person would run. Not all of the momentum would transfer when you would turn, so you couldn't turn like very sharply while walking at a brisk pace. You would turn in sort of a larger circle, right? Which is cool from a realism perspective, but when you're trying to navigate narrow corridors and stuff, it made it really, and very heavily populated areas, it made it kind of rough trying to like maneuver your way through small doors and all that stuff. Like I can't tell you how many times I kept bumping into walls and I want to go through this door, but I'll just hit the side of the wall right now, and things of that nature. So I shifted that over, but you can select it. You can still select the normal stuff, and it stays with the normal movement. But if you go under gameplay, you can select the advanced movement, and you can switch back and forth whenever you want. And the advanced movement gives you basically that turn on a dime thing. So Geralt is much more responsive to every time to your inputs. So he can spin in a circle really fast, and he can just do whatever you need him to do, which I think I like it a lot better because it does feel a lot more responsive. But also I think it'll probably help out some with the combat, because the combat was really difficult to avoid, to dodge things for me, because he was just kind of moving, he was lumbering quite a bit, you know what I mean? And I was like, how does one dodge properly here? So I think hopefully that will translate well into combat, and I'll be able to do some more dodging and rolling than what I could do up to this point. So that is out. I saw it came down on Steam, and it's all patched. Your previous save games are compatible. However, when you save a new game, it will not be backwards compatible. So, and it warns you about that too. It says, hey, as soon as you make a new save, this new save will not be backwards compatible if you unpatch this. So, in addition to that, there have been some reports that there was some rebalancing of the weapons and armor, and some weapons and armor require more skills than they used to, so you may end up finding Geralt slightly naked at times during the game if you happen to be wearing the armor classes that have been reclassified, because they'll just go back into your inventory and you won't be able to wear them until you get to the proper level for them. So there's that too. I didn't see any initial problems with my stuff, but I'm still early in the game, so I think some of that was the later game armor. So, but don't quote me on that. So that's all good stuff. All good stuff there. The only bad stuff about it, and of course I'm going to link it to Eurogamer, which talks even more about this. Eurogamer does mention that some of the bad stuff is the patch is really good for PC. For PS4 and Xbox One, it seems to be creating, well, at least for Xbox One anyway, creating additional performance issues that weren't there before. Namely, the frame rate seems to tank a little bit more after the patch, because it seems that they're linking it it seems like the code that they use for the PS4 for the frame rate on that, they're using on the Xbox One, which is a slightly more powerful in some cases, and at least in this particular case, and the method that they're using is actually causing more frame rate drop than what used to be there. So they're saying somewhere like 8 frames per second less in some cases. So you might want to be careful about that too. Maybe if you're on a console, you would not download the patch right away and just let CD Projekt maybe possibly do an additional patch for that stuff. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it picks up steam or not, and they decide to re-engage the consoles and patch whatever additional frame rate issues are happening there. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I have so many things on here. I do want to talk about 2 additional things that I've played this week, and then that will be that. Oh, before I do that, and actually this might be the last. I don't know. Game of Thrones, Telltale's Game of Thrones, episode 5 has just been announced. A Nest of Vipers. It's episode 5 of 6, so we're getting close to the end on that. That is coming. That is coming Tuesday the 21st, I believe. I believe Tuesday is the 21st of July. That has been announced. It's going to come out on its normal... The Telltale seems to release things on Tuesdays, so it should be out on a normal Tuesday. I will be doing my normal recording of it in one fell swoop and then uploading those. But I'm going to upload them. I'm going to do them just like I did with the Borderlands, Tales from the Borderlands, where it'll be, instead of every day, it'll be the days that I don't have a Witcher video going up. They'll go up in the slot that I don't have. So, and they're usually about 2 hours in length, and that usually translates to about 4 episodes from me. So it's not shouldn't overload anybody's subscription boxes or anything like that. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting to play. I'm sort of dreading it a little bit. I like what the game has done so far, but the dread is more. It's kind of a bummer to play it. It's kind of a Debbie Downer. It really is. It's like, you play Tales from the Borderlands, you're like, oh, you get done in it, and you're like, oh, this is fantastic. I love life right here. And then you get done Game of Thrones, you're like, man, life sucks. Because these guys they manage to get you into these weird, just every choice is a bad choice thing. That said, I still really like the game. I'm still going to play it. It's just, I'm kind of, hopefully this will only be a 1-season thing. I don't know that I would pick up a season 2 of Game of Thrones if they did one. I think once this arc is done, I think I'm pretty much done with it as far as games go, because it is a little too much of a Debbie Downer for me, honestly. But that will be coming. So I mentioned earlier that I played on a live stream Guild of Dungeoneering, and I'll leave a link to GameStop, who did a review of Guild of Dungeoneering. It's a cute little indie game. It was pretty cool. It is sort of strategy, but it's really mostly a card deck building game, which is kind of the hard. It's kind of the charm of it, and also the bitter pill of it, right? Where everything is based on an RNG. You're doing random number generator through the hilt. So, and you will die. Your guys will die often, and their deaths will be telegraphed for you. Like, it'll be like, okay, I can't, no matter what card I play here, my guy's dead. So let's just play any card and just get it over with. So it's, from that perspective, it can be a little bit frustrating. I on the stream, I did have about an hour of minor frustration there, where I was killing off people left and right. And the nice thing is the game doesn't penalize you too much for it. Like, you'll still get some gold off their dead bodies, which will help you to continue to upgrade the guild and bring in new Dungeoneers. But it does. You do have to put your frustrations to the side. If you do get frustrated easily, you're going to hate this game. Because it really does not require skill at all. It's really all random chance. And some people really like that. I don't mind it so much. I do get frustrated by it, but I don't mind it so much. What did bother me is that every time you start a new dungeon, you're reset back to level 1 and you have no equipment. That was bothering me, but I kind of understand what they're doing, because it's all just, you're not really buying equipment, you're buying the cards, and the cards are in your deck, so that's the deck you have to play with, so your deck is constantly expanding. So from that perspective, it makes sense, but it also is very, very frustrating when it's like, all right, it's the beginning of the dungeon, and oh yeah, I picked up the twig, so now I'm going to use that because that's a really good weapon. I don't have any other real weapon yet, and I'm going to pick up the oaken shield because that's really good for this, and skull cap gives me these cards, so I'm going to pick that up, and so it does get very repetitive in that respect as you're playing, because it's like, all right, I already know what all these cards are, so I'm just going to play them. It's every dungeon's sort of starting out the same almost, but they do throw some curveballs in there. Hit my keyboard. Sorry about that. They do throw. I gotta stop waving my hands around. You can't see my hands. They do throw some. They do throw some curveballs in there at you, but it can get pretty repetitive after a while. But it's still good fun. I enjoyed my time in it, and I might play some more of it on a live stream in the future. And then the other game I looked at, besides Interstellar Rift, which I've talked about, I think, to death already by now, Into the Stars is another game I looked at. Not on the stream, but I looked at it as a side quest video. It's FTL-ish. It's more like FTL meets Oregon Trail, basically, because there's no dysentery, but there is like rats chewing through cables and all kinds of stuff like that. So that's the gist of it. But it does have a 3D engine, so you do fly around in 3D space, and rather than having everything being sort of like an instance, like I'm going to click on the map and jump to here, and I'm going to click on this node and jump to there, all the nodes are right there. They're all loaded. You just fly. You're flying in 3D space. It's all just one big solar system that you're flying through, trying to get to the other side, while the enemy aliens are hot on your heels. And along the way, you stop off at planets, you do mining, gather resources, all that stuff. You do fight battles, and then you have to manage how you fight the battles. It's still very, very early right now, and very, very unbalanced from what I saw. You can either get really far in it or not get far at all. It really depends on what you bring with you, and all the front loading that happens. You have to select all the different individual stuff, and I spent 15 minutes. The first 15 minutes of the video is me just getting my ship prepared to actually go on the mission. Right? It's just, there's so many front loading things that you have to do. And then during the mission, there's a lot of micromanagement, which is not so bad, but it does, it's good that they have a pause in it, but pause feature, an active pause feature, but it's just still, it needs a lot of work yet. And the fact that they put it out on Kickstarter and it's like $20, or I'm not on Kickstarter, but on early access, and it's $20, and I'm like, yeah, this is a wait. This is a wait right now. This is a wait for a couple months. So yeah, you probably want to go look at my video, the side quest video on that, to get some more information on it. I actually played the game for about an hour. I had played before that to try to get an idea of it, and I had to go digging around on the wikis and stuff to see how certain things worked and why things weren't working the way I wanted them to work. But it's I recorded for an hour and ended up, I think I cut it down to like 40 minutes or so, because a lot of that was just me puttering around waiting for an enemy encounter so I could show off the battle system. So it's yeah. Again, very early. It is what it is, and I can see some enjoyment out of it, but it's not quite there yet. But I will do it for this episode of Cube Ramblings. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time.